Good evening, everybody. Here is the latest as we have it. Unfortunately, Hurricane Milton has re-energized and back to a Category 5 hurricane. It will continue to be a major hurricane upon making landfall. Duval County is currently under a hurricane watch, a tropical storm warning, and a storm surge warning. Tropical storm winds may start getting the bands in by Wednesday evening. Heaviest winds now are expected overnight on Wednesday into Thursday morning. Hurricane force gusts are possible along the ocean and the riverfronts during that time. I know that all of you have noticed that the timeline on this keeps getting pushed back to later and later and later. So we are trying to keep a handle on that as much as possible. But what it makes me want to say to you is, while we were at first thinking the worst of this was going to hit us overnight, that may in fact not be the case. It may be closer to dawn before we see the beginning of the worst effects of this. I want to just caution people to still please make a plan to try to stay off the roads once I know it's tough when it's not nailed down, but they're doing the best they can with those forecasts, those time forecasts. But it looks now like we may have some people that are out and about, and I'd love for you to stay off the roads if you can. Some good news, it is now looking like the most severe rain bands will be a little bit to our south. If you notice, the storm's gone a little bit to the south, which means that we may not get quite the amount of rainfall we're expecting. However, we're still going to get more rainfall than we got with Helene. So there's still going to be river flooding. There's still going to be surge on the coast. So please continue to take this seriously. I'm just telling you that because any little bit helps, right? So we are expecting river flooding at the height of the storm and peak tides after the worst of the storm has passed. That could carry into Thursday evening. We're asking you to stay off the roads again. Decide where you're going to shelter as soon as possible and stay there. And please try to stay off I-95, I-295, or I-10, as those interstates are jammed with folks who are trying to get out of harm's way from other parts of the state. So please stay off the interstates if you possibly can. You may have gotten a notice that St. Johns County is under an evacuation order. This will just add more people obviously onto our crowded roads. So please, again, stay home if you possibly can. Life-threatening beach conditions continue, and those will worsen on Wednesday and Thursday, so we're asking you to stay out of the water as well. There are no lifeguards on duty, so you'll be swimming at your own risk, and there won't be anybody out there to save you. Alex Booth with the National Weather Service is going to give us the very latest in just a few minutes. But to get to the rest of this, since we've been receiving a lot of citizen questions, I want to emphasize that in Duval County, we are not issuing an evacuation order at this time. If you live in a trailer or an older home in a low-lying area or in an area with a heavy tree canopy, and I know a lot of us live in those types of areas, please consider using one of the city shelters or find accommodations in a safe place. That might just be, driving 3 or 5 miles, out of the way to a friend's house that's not in a place with heavy trees or is low-lying. But that's the advice. We're not asking you to evacuate. We're asking you to consider using a shelter or going elsewhere. In terms of hotels, gas, and food, there are no gas shortages in Jacksonville. And should that ever become an issue during the storm, we have solutions in place to keep supplies going to our local stations. Additionally, our city and JTA fleets have been topped off and have ample supply. There are a lot of evacuees coming up from Central Florida. I communicated with Mayor Castor from Tampa this morning, and I hope that we will remember that a lot of those folks that are coming up from the Tampa area or the areas just around Tampa will be coming into our hotels. So please be accommodating to those folks. I'm sure they're scared and in need of a little comfort. So our hotels have reached full capacity in the 12 lodging options downtown and surrounding area. The beaches hotels are expected to reach full capacity today. So hotels are full. If you need accommodations, again, we have shelters open for that. In addition to neighbors fleeing the storm from our south, we currently have 300 evacuated horses that are staying at the equestrian center. We have 6 shelters, as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to mention those again for anybody who didn't get them. Atlantic Coast High School, Chaffee Trail Elementary School, the Legends Center, Landmark Middle School, La Villa School of the Arts, and Arlington Middle School. We added a 6th shelter at Arlington Middle School because we wanted to have another option that was closer to the beaches, since we are expecting higher winds and some surge out at the beaches. JTA will be providing free transportation to shelters starting tomorrow morning. And American Sign Language interpreters will be at Atlantic Coast High School and at the Legend Center. If you're going to go to one of those shelters, somebody asked this the other day, so I wanted to put it in my notes. You'll need to bring your own snacks, water, and bedding, along with your ID, your medications, and personal care items. If you have pets, each family is authorized to bring up to 3 pets, which includes dogs, cats, ferrets, and pocket pets like hamsters or gerbils. No reptiles or other exotic animals are allowed in shelters. They put this in bold in my notes, so I would not show up to a shelter with a reptile. All pets must have proof of vaccination and registration and be properly crated or caged and maintained by the owner. No pets may be dropped off at a shelter. JEA has been working hard to get more line crews assembled, and again, they're at 93% of the level of contract crews we had during Helene, which is great for us. We had a little bit of trouble getting those folks in hotels, but we've got them accommodated now. Again, all of our JTA crews are here and working. We're just talking about contract crews that we're bringing in from elsewhere. We still want to remind you that it may take a while, given all of the wind and the rain that's going to be associated with this storm, to get everybody's power restored. We are talking about an event on top of an event. So we've already got some drenched areas and some infrastructure that's a problem. So I really, really want you to be patient if you possibly can with this process, because JEA is doing everything they can and will to get your power on, get your water restored, whatever it is, quickly. But we want to make sure they're safe as they're doing it. So please be patient. For the first time ever, tiger dams are being set up at the beaches to help with storm surge. Those will be set up by the state in conjunction with COJ Public Works. They're located at 1 Atlantic Boulevard, at 20 Seagate Avenue, and at 1 Ahern Street. In addition to the 3 tiger dams at the beaches, Neptune Beach Public Works, JEA, and Baptist Beaches all plan on using this technology as well. And so in case you are not familiar with what the tiger dams are, they are water-filled bladder technology that, unlike sandbags, can deploy 100% deploy 100% of floodwaters, or not deploy 100% of floodwaters. They can block 100% of floodwaters if deployed properly. They take as little as 90 seconds to be put together, which is great, with minimal manpower and no heavy equipment. We have 7 pumps that are out at the LaSalle pump station, and another one to handle the roadway flooding in San Marco. And we have more pumps in reserve to send out across the city as needed. We've got 6 ERAT teams across the city in Riverside and the west and north sides, Mandarin and East Arlington. We also have urban rescue teams staged at the Prime Osborne Center. And we have 3 swift water teams on the west side, the south side, and the beaches. Ken Knight Drive, as always, is going to be terribly flooded. We really, really encourage anybody that's over on Ken Knight Drive to get into a shuttle. JTA is providing free shuttles from Ken Knight Drive starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow through the duration of the storm. And that pickup is going to be at bus stop 3991 at Ken Knight Drive and Moncrief Road. Residents will be transported to the Legend Center from Ken Knight Drive. JTA will continue to run regular operations on JTA's fixed bus route, BRT First Coast Flyer routes, connection and ready ride service, as long as it's safe to do so Wednesday and Thursday. And Friday operations are to be determined based on the storm. As I said, because the timing keeps shifting a little bit on us, we're just going to have to follow that. And I wish we could give you a more definitive answer on exactly when we're going to have the worst conditions. But please stay tuned to your local meteorologist, and also make sure that you're simply battening down the hatches and prepare to just hunker down for a little while. The Magenta line will not run October 9th and 10th. The St. Johns River Ferry is now closed through October the 10th. The Skyway will close the evening of this evening, and that'll be through the 10th as well. JTA will communicate any service disruptions through their website, social media channels, and the MyJTA app, along with Jack's Ready communications. JTA will begin supporting shelter operations starting at 8 a.m. tomorrow, with free rides for residents being transported to all 6 shelters. It will also operate, as I said, that shuttle from Ken Knight. And those pickups will be every 15 to 30 minutes, by the way. Greyhound has canceled all bus operations across Florida beginning at 6 p.m. And it is undetermined when they will resume those operations. Our downtown terminal will remain closed until that happens. They'll only have essential personnel reporting Wednesday and Thursday, with Friday to be determined depending on the arrival time of the storm. If you have tickets to an upcoming event, you're going to have to check with the venue to find out if it's being canceled or postponed. In terms of parking, another thing that we're doing this time for the first time is if you live in a flood-prone area or you're concerned about damage to your car, we're opening up our city-owned garages for free from Wednesday through Friday. And these are the ones you can use: Water Street at 541 Water Street, Ed Ball, 238 West Monroe Street, the Yates Building at 200 East Adams Street, and Duval Street at 33 West Duval. JTA will also open Kings Avenue Garage for free, as they did in the last storm. All bridges are currently open. There seems to be some confusion about the bridge situation. It seems like that's always the case. But the Florida Department of Transportation works closely with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office and the Florida Highway Patrol to monitor wind conditions at area bridges. If sustained winds exceed specified levels, FDOT will work with law enforcement to close the affected bridges, and then they'll open back up when those wind speeds are not there. So they're not gonna, it's unlikely they're gonna close and stay closed. They'll be closed and then they'll open and they'll close again when we have the conditions. The airport is open, but passengers are strongly encouraged to check with their respective airlines to verify schedules, because our airport does not close unless all flights are canceled. So check with your airline. Public Works. We have extra teams out today and tomorrow picking up yard waste. I know there's been some frustration there, and I want to talk a little bit about that because look, it is rare that we have the situation where we have a storm as severe as the one we had last week, and then on top of another storm. So our crews were out, and we messaged after Helene, it's going to take 2 or 3 cycles to get everything off the curb. Don't add anything new. So I want you to understand we are doing the very best we can. Our crews are out there working hard. We've got extra crews picking up yard waste. They are prioritizing neighborhoods that will face the worst wind and flood threats, and then move out from there. Because of this prioritization by neighborhood, you do not need to contact 630 City to report a missed pickup. We just ask you that if we get into the time when the storm is going to arrive and you have things that may become flying projectiles, move those close to the house or move them to a place where they're not going to fly around if you possibly can. And we will get to them. We're doing the very best we can to get to all of it. The beaches, municipalities, and Baldwin have also added extra teams to pick up yard waste in their communities. And we simply ask for your continued patience and all that. There's been a lot to pick up. Our various public works teams are also taking care of trees, clearing drains, inlets, ditches, and securing loose items in advance of the storm. All Thursday solid waste collections, garbage, recycling, and yard waste will be suspended. Thursday collection for garbage and recycling will be rescheduled to Saturday. Friday collection of garbage and recycling is anticipated to occur as normally scheduled. And yard waste and debris collections will resume in an ongoing manner on Friday until all of the Helene and Milton debris is picked up. And hopefully this is our last rodeo this season. I know y'all are well, unless you enjoy this sort of thing, I know you're probably wishing you could move on to something else, and we are too, but we want to just make sure that everybody's safe. And we're going to make sure that that's the case. You got 630 City to call for anything that you need that is not emergent, and those hours will be 8 a.m. until 9 p.m. tonight, then going into 24-hour mode tomorrow until the storm passes, and we have an understanding of where the damage is. And of course, as always, make sure you visit jacksready.com/Milton for any additional information from all the latest that is happening with the storm and with our efforts here at the city. And now I'd like to turn it over to Alex for the latest on the storm.
Good evening, Alex Booth, the National Weather Service. Just a quick overview on the current state of Hurricane Milton. It is a Category 5, as the mayor mentioned, with sustained winds of 165 miles per hour, and is now finally beginning to move a little bit more northerly. It moved eastward through most of the day, but we anticipate through tonight and into tomorrow it's going to gradually accelerate northeastward toward the Florida Peninsula, and then hook a right turn, go eastward, somewhere along the Florida West Coast. There's still some uncertainty in the track. It did shift a little bit south with the 5 p.m. update. We're going to continue to watch how that evolves. But the timing of the system, the gradual acceleration, is what's been slowing down the process of the arrival of those winds in the thick of the storm being later and later. In anticipation of that, it does still appear that the earliest time of arrival of tropical storm force winds could be tomorrow evening, right around sunset, perhaps a little bit later, before the heavier winds arrive overnight early Thursday morning, and carry through Thursday into potentially the early afternoon hours as Milton makes its way into the Atlantic and off the Florida coast. Still, we mentioned the southerly shift, potentially pulling some of the heavier, severe rain bands a little bit further south. We still anticipate getting rain that could result in some flooding concerns in the area across Duval County, but the surge is going to be still a huge impact. It's driven by wind. We are still anticipating tropical storm force winds to strong tropical force winds sustained at the coast, at the ocean front, and in the riverfront areas. That is going to drive water into the coast, into the river, resulting in surge along the beaches of 3 to 5 feet. That's going to be reaching the edge of the dunes here at times of high tide, and there's going to be waves on top of that splashing over. So the beaches are going to be a very dangerous place come Thursday night, or early Thursday through Thursday morning. In the St. Johns River, the surge is also going to be fairly considerable. 2 to 4 feet of inundation will be possible. We already have elevated tides there, and they have been elevated for the last 4 days. 2 to 4 feet of inundation is going to be the higher end of that, will be on the banks that face north. So areas like Southampton, portions of maybe Pottsburg Creek, Little Pottsburg Creek, that can get wind funneling more water into those areas. Portions of the intercoastal waterway toward JTB, where we start to see some constriction in the intercoastal. Towards St. Johns County, those can be areas where those higher end 4-foot potential inundation values may be seen come Thursday with that high tide during the afternoon. And it's worth mentioning that successive high tides, especially in the river, will see elevated tides even after Thursday evening, and maybe carrying through into Friday as well. And one more mention about the tidal flood in the river is that the rainfall, even though it's lessening over us, there's still considerable amount of rain forecast across central Florida. And the St. Johns River drains northward through Jacksonville. That's going to prolong tidal flooding through the weekend into next week, when we expect higher astronomical tides, which is a yearly occurrence here at this time in October. So those will combine to continue to exacerbate the issues on the river through next week. As far as considerations for tonight into tomorrow, the preparations should be done by tonight at the latest early tomorrow morning, with the storm being a little bit later, and then going into hunker down phase with these winds starting to arrive and getting pretty strong towards tomorrow night and through Thursday. Thank you. That's all.
Okay. Questions for me or for any of our experts back here?
Mayor, at 12:05 today, you alluded to the possibility of opening some more shelters, presumably for evacuees from other municipalities. Where does that stand at this time?
Well, again, we will have to make that decision when we see, we're not even opening the current shelters that we have until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. So we're going to see how those are utilized, and we're ready to activate 5 additional shelters if we need that. But right now, we're sort of in a wait-and-see situation on whether we're going to have to open more shelters.
And we haven't had a chance to check out the Tiger dams, but are they already being set up as we speak, or when will that happen?
Well, I had initially thought they were set up earlier today, but I saw some pictures this afternoon that made it look like that they were out. Have they been
So
placed
beaches
now?
are being delivered and they're
Yeah.
setting them up, but there's other locations
Yeah.
downtown San Marco area that are already set up. I believe 2 of them are already set up.
Yeah, I think there's two, I think there's one at the beaches that is already set up because I saw some pictures of it.
Regarding construction with Four Seasons, are those cranes coming down? Are they remaining in place? What's the game plan with that?
I don't know. I know they go through a process of securing those things. Whether they're actually taking them down, I don't know. I'll see if I can find out for you.
Mayor, St. Johns County did order some evacuations, mandatory evacuation from some zones. What is the difference between Duval County, no evacuations, just the south? St. Johns County did order some mandatory evacuations.
Well, they're a little further south, but all I can really say about that is every county has to make the decisions that they think are best for their citizens. And from what we could see here, for our effects in Duval County, we didn't believe that mandatory evacuations were warranted. I can't speak for St. Johns County.
Regarding the Tiger dams again, I know you said the state is providing them. Is there a cost to this? Is this free or taxpayer dollars, I guess?
Well, this is all part of what we'll hopefully be reimbursed for once everything is finished. That's one of the things that we do constantly through these storms, is we keep a tab of every single thing that we've had to activate, all the preparation, all the equipment we've had to use, all the crews we have to use. And at the end, that all gets tabulated, and if it meets a certain threshold, which I can only imagine that it most certainly will in this storm, then we will be reimbursed for all those things.
Gotcha.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, folks. Have a wonderful evening. Please be safe, and we'll see you back here at 12:05.
Thank you.